What's up, everyone? It's your boy James, Grendel's Garage, and we are cleaning out the Wildcat 80. Basically, I've ran 2 rinses of gas through it, and this is what we ended up getting. Overall, not too bad. A couple flakes of metal in there, a little bit of aluminum, but really not too bad. You probably won't be able to see it on the camera. A little bit more grime. This is the after I dumped it out into there. So a little bit more mud colory than I guess you could say. Overall though, for 350 plus miles, I'm pretty happy, guys. That's really not bad when you think about what I do to this thing and how much fun I've had on it. And, you know, I've been ripping it pretty hard, especially the last few rips I had on there. So anyways, looking forward to what we have to do with this. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it one more rinse with some oil and gas so that we can get some lubricant factors back into the engine itself, help you know, all the other stuff in that, keep the gaskets nice and good to go and all that jazz. But overall, what are we doing with this motor? We are gonna go ahead, get this cleaned up, put it back together. I'm hoping to finally actually get some timing done on this with the cylinder all together. We'll take the rings off, we'll do the whole shebang from everything that I understand it. Got a little notebook, we're gonna write everything down, we're gonna film everything. That's what we're gonna do. Alrighty guys, we are back and everything is fairly nice and clean up. Pretty happy with how some of the stuff turned out. Ended up using this brass wire brush. Did really good work, completely cleaned off our head. Squeaky clean, nice and gold. And did a pretty good number on our piston. And then ended up just using a little bit of sandpaper to try to get off a little bit more. So basically, we are cleaned up. I just have to get out a little bit of grime in a couple places. But yeah, nice and squeaky clean. So what are we doing? Well, I am finally going to go ahead and try to get into the port and scene. Got the handy dandy notebook as everyone has recommended doing. So we got the notebook. Go ahead. What do we got written down so far? Not much, guys. Not much. Everything's been in the head. But what do we have? We have our porting 101. So a few pages that'll be dedicated just to like quick notes and stuff like that. How to get our timing wheel and everything like that set up. Then we'll get our measurements with the Wildcat 80. We're going to get our squish on our base gasket, and then we'll go ahead and get a squish on our head gasket. So that's the plan. Get a reading on that guy. Since this has already been squished down, what we'll do is we'll use this as our measuring. When we put together, I think what we'll do is put a fresh one on, but we'll get our measurement from this because this has been compressed. This is what we'll know basically what the gasket will end up being. We'll probably just reuse this so we're consistent completely. And yeah, so I got to go through and learn how to put this all together as far as on a timing wheel and all that jazz. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And you guys know I've been watching all your videos and trying to learn as much as possible. It always seems simplistic until you get to it. So that's all I know, guys. We're just do a really quick time lapse of me putting this together, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, stay tuned. we are back, threw it together, just the quick maintenance, cleaned up, whatever. Motor looks great. Oh, if you guys were watching and paying attention really carefully, I definitely broke one of the piston rings. This was the top piston ring. Note, I did take the piston rings off prior with my new, piston ring remover, which is great, awesome, really like it. This is nice, man. This is super nice. It's a little cheap, a little chintzy, but it works really well. Anyways, when I took this ring off originally, it just seemed a little cat eye or off a little bit, and it just seemed a little funky. So I was like, all right, it is what it is, it's fine though. We're gonna put it together the way that I got it, so that's just the way it is. So took off the bottom one because I was just having a heck of a time. So I was like, uh-oh, this thing's misshapen, so I need to take it off. Needed to take it off anyways for timing. From everything I've seen, you want to go ahead and take your piston rings off so that way when you're rotating your engine up and down, you don't have your piston rings dragging or anything like that. So that's why I did that, just so you guys are aware. And then I did that, you know what flashed in my head? There's actually an episode on LA Hover where he talks about he broke piston rings off of his Wildcat 82, removing them. So just a little side note. Interesting. But basically the premise is you take your little tool and then you can get it printed off or pull it off, get it off your piston. Very nice little guy. Saves your thumbs. I ended up having to use the thumb on the other one. So I think we'll maybe end up replacing both of them. That's just kind of weird that broke on me. Alrighty guys, we are back and we're going to take a crack at timing the Wildcat 80. Super excited. Not going to lie, off camera I needed to learn and understand what I was doing, so I had my handy dandy notebook. I went through and watched a whole bunch of videos of a whole bunch of great people and took a whole bunch of notes that I don't completely understand, but I think it's going to help me a lot. Anyways, backing up a little bit. Oh, let's see here. What page is it on? I got a little thing. Oh, I think it's over here. Yep. All right. So I have it sectioned off. We have the Wildcat 80 port series. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let me turn this backlight on. Might be able to see it better. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and see what we can do. What I did was I took readings for the first part. Basically what we have is we have our exhaust opening. I have exhaust opening at 72 times 2 equals 44. Well, okay, so let me back up. The opening was there to find our duration. You're going to multiply that by 2, which gave me a total of 144 degrees exhaust duration. Transfers. Transfers opened at 55 degrees times 2 to find our transfer duration. 110 degrees for our transfer duration. What the duration is going to be, guys, it's going to be from when the exhaust opens to when the exhaust closed. Transfers are going to be the exact same from when the exhaust opens to when the exhaust closed. Next, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the next thing that most people look at. We have our transfer blowdown. Is exhaust opening minus transfer opening. 72 degrees minus 55 degrees equals 17 degrees of transfer blowdown. That's going to be the relationship between the exhaust and the transfers. The transfers, the exhaust opens first and you start expelling the spent gases. Then the transfers are going to open and start pushing in the new charge, which will also, depending on which way your ports open, typically I believe it opens towards the exhaust. That will help push out everything. The new charge is, you're going to lose charge too. That's the efficiency of a two-stroke. Anyways, but that new charge is coming in. But basically your transfer blowdown is when that exhaust opens to when the transfers open. That is what your transfer blowdown is. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that number, whether you have a short blowdown or a long blowdown. There's a lot of theories behind that, which it's way beyond me, but I've been, doing a lot of research on it, so this is important. Next, you're going to go ahead, I got intake equals 61 degrees is when it opened. When it closed was at, with the intake duration is 61 degrees times 2 equals 122 degrees of intake duration. Again, that's going to be when the intake opens and when the intake closes. Those are our numbers. I'm hoping to duplicate the numbers again with you guys real quick. My battery is not supercharged, but we're going to take a whack at it. Anyways, a big thanks to Tin Man Saws. Thanks, man. Your guys' your cutaway has been awesome. It's really helped me really understand two-strokes, and then your porting series has been pretty great. Thank you so much. LA Hover, your port series, pretty great, man. A lot of great information. I got to give my hat off to you, man. You really are the one that pushed me to get into YouTube, and here we are today having fun at Grendel's Garage. So thank you very much, man. Keep up the good work. Hopefully we see you a little bit more. Keaton, I'm not going to say your last name, man. Don't want to butcher it. You kind of helped me get a little bit more of the fundamentals of putting it the wheel on and stuff like that, and that kind of really helped me get the ball going and get the confidence. So thanks, brother. Two-stroke porting and carb tuning. Bro, you really just brought it together. I think you just took what all these guys were saying and just really made it so simple and stupid easy to understand. And I believe that's where we can just get these numbers and we can just roll with it and go from there. You're a mad scientist too, bro. I've been starting to watch some of your porting stuff, and you are, whew, man, dude. Yes, your time shows. Anyways, guys, thank you to those guys, and there's very, very many other great videos out there, but that's just what I have time for right now. Anyways, let's go ahead and push forward. Let's push this in. All right, so go ahead and remove this guy. Leave your magnet on. Your prongs, basically part of your whole setup right here, your magneto setup. So remove that guy. Keep the magnet on is what I find. You can kind of use that as a spacer. Obviously remove the plate here, remove your clutch plate, all that jazz. As you guys saw, we have a positive stop. The positive stop's gonna be super important. I didn't show you, but I cut off the sides just so I could see what was going on in there more. You do not have to do that as long as it's stopping consistently. Next, you're going to need your pointer. Very important. Make sure your pointer is long enough. Even this one's probably not great. I probably should make a little bit longer one. I made a short one, and that was a travesty. Go ahead and bolt it on so it's not going to move somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and bolt it on towards the back of the clutch. Assembly over here. As you saw, we drilled our hole. Next, we're going to go ahead and insert just a washer on there, just to give us a little bit more space in between. Timing wheel on. I'm going to go ahead and just throw another washer on there to stay consistent. Try to get that nice and tight on there. Next, we're just going to go ahead and gently screw this on. Don't worry about getting it too tight or anything like that. It's going to move on you. We're not going to worry about that as much. But what we are going to want to kind of do, I also took the back clutch plate off so I can kind of manipulate this right now. So I'm going to get that to about what I believe is top dead center, roughly, okay, give or take. There's nothing supporting your cylinder down, so go ahead and use your hand. Go ahead and try to play it out in your head. Don't get too crazy precise or anything like that. So let's just go ahead and say it's like right about there. I'm holding the back clutch. I'm going to go ahead and move my timing wheel to about where that pointer is for top dead center. Now, when you guys are seeing this, it's going to be off because the camera's pointing this way and it's going to be kind of pointing this way. So just keep that in mind. So my numbers are going to be a little bit different than what you're seeing. See that play right there? The piston's not even moving, but you can see that wheel moving. Kind of crazy, huh? Why are we doing this? What we're trying to do is we're going to time out the dwell time. Dwell time is when the piston is all the way at the top, and there's going to be that point where it's on that crank arm, or whatever you want to call that. And what's going to happen is when it's going all the way up, there's going to be a little bit when that arm is going completely up here, you're going to lose a little bit of degrees where the piston actually isn't going to be moving. I know that's kind of crazy, but yes, it is moving, but it's like almost like completely nothing. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and time that out. And that's what the positive stop is going to be, because those degrees are going to matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of hand tighten it. We're just getting it semi where we want it to be before everything starts moving. Okay, that's pretty hand tight. So now I'm going to go ahead and move this so the piston goes down. We're going to go ahead and put my positive stop on. Make sure the piston's down so that way you can put this all the way. Go ahead and grab a couple washers. Whoa, as I drop stuff on the floor. Watch, it knocks the degree wheel off. Not a big deal if it did, though. We're going to get our bolts on there. Okay, this part I got to think about. Remember, this is like a beginner to a beginner's perspective. First time kind of doing this. So we're going to torque these down on our positive stop. Just a reminder too, we do have the base gasket on as well. Okay, well, we're gonna maybe break some tools today, I don't know. All right, so the next step is we're gonna go ahead and tighten our wheel down. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate my wheel. So if I were to tighten that, that would move. So let's go ahead and go all the way around the other way. Remember, our wheel's not on very tight. All right, so we're against that piston stop. I'm going to go ahead and pinch my wheel a little bit. Now I'm just going to tighten this down. You don't have to go crazy, but we do not want it to move. Wheel is nice and tight. We have our positive stop, nice and firm. What our positive stop is going to do, it's going to stop our piston in the exact same spot every single time. Now our focus is going to be back over to where our pointer is. Let's go ahead and move you over, guys, a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and move our piston to where it completely stops. And I'm going to do my best to look over you guys. I'm going to try to get accurate numbers. What am I getting? You got to look at the numbers. So 20, 30, so we're in 20. Make sure we're against it. What are we at? 25, 26. I'm going to say 26. All the way around on the other side. And I'm getting 31. So let's go ahead and move this up. Let's go ahead. I kind of like to try to get this like right about there. So let's go 30, or let's go 28. Let's get nice and firm. 25, 26. I gotta get a pointer for myself, guys. It's actually easier to count backwards, really. What are we at? 30, 29. I'm at 28 and a half is really what I'm reading. All the way back on the other side. Don't smack your piston, right? 25. What are we at? Well, that might be really close. I'm actually at 28, so 29, 28. I'd say 28. And we want just barely. So what if I get this as like 20? In my opinion, we're at 20. We're like 28 and just a smidget. $28 and a smidget. 28. We're at 28. 20 and a half. A bigger wheel will give you more accurate readings. 20. Oh, man. That's 28 and a half exactly again on this side. Let's see what that did on this. I barely moved that thing, guys. It's so hard not to even move it. That put me at 20 and a half. All right, 20 and a half. 28 and a half. 29, 20 and a half. Okay, cool. So that means that we have timed out our dwell time. And we can go ahead and move forward. So go ahead and remove your bolts. Go and move your piston so you're not going to bump it or anything like that. Try to make this part quick. I am going to run out of time for battery, I can tell. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. This is really, really kind of the basis, the really important part, because if this is incorrect, then everything else is going to be correct. And we're going to be able to kind of test it, which I hope we have time for. Well, we'll make time. Again, I can always redo this. Now, do not move, don't bump that, which I was just resting my hand on that, so hopefully that didn't jar anything. Didn't feel like it, but you never know, right? You cannot bump anything now. Everything has to stay perfect. All right, so we're going to go and put washer. Keep dropping stuff. Now, I would assume that if you bolt... Oh, geez, that's another one. I assume that if you bolted all four sides, you might be a little bit more accurate, so I'm not going to do that just because again, running out of time. So, yeah, go ahead and probably throw bolts on all four. We're going to try to get it consistently hand tight. Torque wrench would be much advised at this point. Okay. So, if we go to our top dead center, that's going to be where our piston is, right at the very top. Alrighty, guys, I'm actually going to run out of battery. So just so you know, piston's at the very top, right there, right at our top dead center. Next, we're going to get our measurements as the piston would be moving in actual time. So we're actually going to be moving it the way that the drivetrain's going, so it's going to be the opposite direction. So move clockwise, which that turns your chain going that way, okay? And you can watch your, I don't know, this guy right there, where your bucking bar goes into, which drives everything, okay? And that's how you can go ahead and decide. So from there, we're going to go ahead and pause, and we're at top dead center, and I'm going to go ahead and charge up my battery. Stay tuned, guys. Alrighty, everyone, we're back. Sorry about the camera battery dying. Anyways, let's go ahead and move forward. So, what are we doing? We're looking for 3 different numbers: exhaust opening, transfer opening, and or intake opening. All right, so what the best method is to do is to have like a flashlight, or at least as long as you have enough light coming into your exhaust, because the exhaust is what's going to open first, because we want to expel those exhaust fumes, right? You can shine a flashlight. Again, we're going to move this the way the drivetrain is going to go. And you're going to go into where your exhaust opens. So I'm not going to use the light. What I've been doing typically is just been kind of cupping this and then just covering up. And then you can really get in there and see when that light first cracks. Let's see, I'm shooting. You can be really, really nitty gritty right when that sucker opens up. I've already taken the numbers down. Again, we're going to go ahead and just kind of double check on everything. So, if this was opening at 72, which was my last reading, it would be at 70. 1, 2, 1. Let's see how that looks. Pretty dang good, actually. Getting about 72. Excellent. 1, 2, 72 is what I'm getting my reading as. 72 degrees. Next, we're going to look for the transfers opening. For this one, you obviously don't need light. I find that the transfers are a little bit harder. I'm not 100% sure why. I just think it's a little bit more difficult to see up there when that transfer actually cracks open. So we're looking right about there. And you can barely see that transfer cracking open over there. And we're reading 55 degrees. Excellent. Next is going to be our intake. That's what's got you guys moved over that way. Oh, I closed it. Hold on. I don't know if I can get you guys. Oh, there we go. That's what we need to do. Alright, so with intake opening, pistons coming down, we're going to take our measurement from the numbers from basically after bottom dead center, which is what you want. We are at bottom dead center right now. Roughly right about there. Bring you back to the intake. As that intake opens. Looking at right about, I'd say right about there. It's going to be a little bit tough to see maybe with that camera angle, but it's opening right there perfectly at 61 degrees on my timing wheel. Now, to make sure that your wheel is completely 100% ready to go, you can do this on any of your ports. Go to your openings and go through the entire motion of the wheel. So we know that it's opening right here. Let's go and go through the entire process. Because we're working on a circle, it's going to close at the exact same degrees. So we're closed right about there. Close right about, I gotta get this perfect. You gotta stay consistent too. You gotta remember kind of like the shape that it makes in your head. Or whatever you want to say. I'm kind of like trying to remember shape patterns. Like that kind of makes like a shape in my head, and I'm trying to stay consistent with it. So we're closed right there. So right at the 61 degree mark. Right there. 61. Perfect. Again, you can do that with any of your reports. If we went up to the exhaust port, and we got our exhaust port number. We can go ahead and completely do the entire process. Boom, exhaust port opens up, closes, and you're gonna get the exact same measurement that you did before. So, alrighty guys, what does all this mean? Well, let's go ahead and write our numbers down. So the good news is we were consistent with our numbers. We did get the exact same numbers, 55 degrees on the transfers. Intake was 61 degrees. So 72 times 2 equals 144 degrees of exhaust duration. Again, that's going to be the 144 is going to be the entire length that the exhaust port is open for. It's going to be open for 144 degrees. Transfers are going to be 55 times 2 equals 110 degrees. That's going to be our transfer, whatever. Sorry, spelling's not my strong point in life. It's going to be our transfer duration. Then to get our transfer blowdown, which we already talked about, the relationship between the exhausts and the transfers, 72 minus 55, we're going to get the same number. We're going to get 17 degrees of transfer blowdown. Lastly, 61 degrees when the intake opens times 2 equals 122 degrees of intake duration. Those are our numbers. Let me know what you guys think overall. We got the same numbers twice, to the best of my ability. It's definitely harder to film it and show you guys than I would have thought. When you're in here doing it by yourself, it's just you can take your time, you can hear yourself, you're just doing all the things. When I'm filming, I got all the other stuff going on in my head. Don't forget to say this, don't forget to say this. But I hope this gives you good representation. There's a lot of videos out there that really help me. Check out those guys out if this is what you want to get into. Let me know what you think of the stock numbers, and we'll go ahead and start dreaming up ideas. So this is the first step, but it's a very, very, very important step, if not the most important step. So, alrighty guys, thank you so much. Grendel's Garage, boy James, until next time.